and welcome. I'm Kamla. My guest today is Mythili Kumar. She's a dancer, choreographer and an educator. She came to the US from India in 1978 and started her dance company called Abhinaya Dance Company in 1980. And since then, she has been teaching traditional classical Indian dance to various students in and around the San Francisco Bay Area. So welcome, Mythili.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You came as a cultural ambassador from India in 1978.
Yes, I was lucky enough to get a Rotary International Fellowship that actually funded a year's worth of studying at UC Davis. I was doing my study was in nutrition. I did a master's.
Nutrition.
Yes, a master's in nutrition. But I was also professionally dancing in India. So the reason they selected you was because you were both academic and were able to, portray some of the culture as well. So, and that's, so you're doing the academics, but you're also
doing the dance,
portraying some of the culture through your dance to the public when you're visiting here for a year.
Okay.
So that's how I came here. And then the following year, I got married to my husband, who was an assistant professor at Stanford University. And since then, I've been here for the last 35 years.
And you've been a cultural ambassador for Indian classical dance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just not Bharatanatyam, which is your primary dance, should I say format?
Yes, style of Indian classical dance. There are 8 Indian classical dance styles, and I was fortunate enough to learn 3 of them. Bharatanatyam was what I started with. And then I learned Kuchipudi, which is from Andhra Pradesh, another South Indian style. And then I learned Odissi, which is from the state of Orissa. Because I lived in Delhi, I was in contact with a teacher who taught Odissi. So at one point in the until the 80s, mid-80s, I used to do, if I did a solo performance, I would do Bharatanatyam, Odissi and Kuchipudi all in the same, and each of them requires a different dress as well as a different technique. So I would do all 3 styles in one performance. Wow. But I gave that up in the 1990s because of various reasons. We always need a lifetime to learn any particular art, and Bharatanatyam was, my primary art form. So I gave up the other. I know I've not really given up. I still watch.
You put those on the back burner.
In the back burner, and I, focus only on Bharatanatyam now.
Okay. What does Bharatanatyam mean?
Bharatanatyam is a name that was coined in the early 20th centuries by pioneers of the dance. This dance was originally performed in the temples of South India and was danced by temple dancers known as Devadasis. And they performed their art as a worship of the divine and the deity in the temple. But when patronage to the temple was lost, then the dance itself started to become associated with immoral practices that, because the Devadasis had no other ways of supporting themselves. And so in the early 20th century, when it came out and they wanted to make the dance respectable again, they started to give it a separate name. So instead of Dasi Atam or Sadir or whatever it was called before, the pioneers gave it a new name, Bharatanatyam. Bharata was supposed to be the sage who wrote the ancient treatise called the Natya Shastra in the 2nd century BC. And this book is what all Indian classical dance is based upon.
Natya Shastra.
The Natya Shastra.
Which means Natya is dance, Shastra means
it's a
teachings.
Compendium of teachings. So it's not just about dance, it's about all theatrical arts in India, the dance, drama and music that was existing in India at the time was codified into that book, in Natya Shastra, in the 2nd century BC. And so Bharata was the sage who presumably wrote that. Could have been a bunch of sages, but because it was one sage who was given the credit. So they said Natyam is a general word for dance. So Bharatanatyam would be, the name of the dance form which closely adhered to this Natya Shastra, which was written, 2,000 years ago. And the word Bharata itself, also the 3 syllables Bharata, have been separated and given its own meanings. Bha standing for bhava. Bhava means expression of the face, expression through the body, expression through different lyrics that you portray. And then Ra stands for Raga. Raga is the melody of all Indian classical music, whether North Indian or South Indian. We use Raga as a basic scale, which has its own, microtones, and it's not just a regular scale. And that's the melody that we use. And Ta stands for Tala. Tala means the rhythmic cycle, a cycle of rhythm, like 8 is the normal rhythm that everybody uses. When you say 5, 6, 7, 8, you're talking about an 8-cycle rhythm. And we have several rhythms in Indian dance and music that we use. So Bharata, expression, melody, and rhythm all encompass this dance form. In fact, it encompasses every dance form, but this particular rejuvenated dance form that had found a renaissance in the early 20th century got this name Bharatanatyam.
Wow, I didn't know that. So thank you for explaining that. So we have a clip of how you start off when you give a performance. You actually pray to Nataraja, a deity, who is an incarnation of Lord Shiva.
Yes.
Okay, so and we have a little, so that's what you have, that's the deity,
yes,
the altar?
The altar represents Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is one of the Hindu trinity of gods, and he is also known as the king of dancers. Nataraja means the king of dancers. He is the lord of dance, not the Irish dancer. If you
river dance.
The river dance, Irish dancer is not the lord of dance in Indian tradition.
And that's one of the poses.
Yes, the poses that we have generally have this particular pose is denoting the drum.
Drums.
The horizontal drum called the mridangam, which is beaten on both sides, and those are the rhythmic syllables that we use and make different patterns for dance. This pose is a pose for another deity called the elephant-headed god deity.
Ganesha.
He's shown like this with his protruding belly, and he keeps his hands like this holding.
And these are your daughters?
These are my daughters. My daughters have been carrying on the tradition, and they are the next generation. The legacy is being carried on by them, and they are just holding a hasta or a gesture, which is usually for a flower. This is me dancing a couple of years ago in India, this is showing different poses, basically poses of the Lord Shiva. And when he's supposed to do a dance which is both vigorous and graceful, and he uses a lot of the gestures, hastas, in his dance as he dances.
How did you get, you came in 78, which is kind of unusual for a single girl to come from India. It was not very common. How did your parents think? What did they have to say when you said that you wanted to go to America?
I don't think they had any problems at all, because I had a cousin who came at least 7 or 8 years, 10 years before me. I had a cousin, and I also had a brother who was in the East Coast at Carnegie Mellon. So, it was like I already had people who would take care of me if I needed to. The only thing was both of them were in the East Coast and I was coming to the West Coast. So that was the only, concern. What will happen if you are all alone in the West Coast and, nobody from the East Coast?
There were no cell phones then?
No cell phones, and nobody can fly out in, less than 6 hours to get to you if something happened. But other than that particular fear, there was no other fear. I think they knew I was fine. And the Indian Students Association in Davis was already well settled. There were several girls like me who were, living together in a dorm or in a separate apartment, and so it was not as isolated as you might think. I guess depends on which part of India you're from.
Right.
You do not know. How many people from different places have come to the U.S. and settled. And so I don't think I was one of the earliest ones. There were people as early as in the 60s and before that also who came here.
No, but I think as a dancer.
Maybe as a dancer.
Because you hear of,
yes.
You came to study, but.
I came to study, yes. But dancers, there were less, since I came, there have been a lot of dancers who have moved to this area. But I was one of the early ones.
How did your interest in dancing start? Was it your dad?
No, it wasn't my dad. Actually, it was in school. In school, you always have these talent shows and group dances and all that are put together. So when I was 7 years old, there was a group dance in my, I think, first grade or second grade. I forget, second grade class, and I danced in it. It was a lamp dance of some kind, and my father saw that I was very flexible and graceful, and he always thought that I was the best dancer in the entire world. That's
how lovely.
He always encouraged me for that. So he immediately said, "Oh, this girl, she looks like she would be a good graceful dancer." So he set about looking for a teacher for me and a guru, a teacher. That's what we call a dance guru. He came to my house 3 times a week and gave me private lessons. And of course, I enjoyed it somewhat, but there were days when I would be looking, really longingly at all the people, all my peers playing outside in the streets, and here I had to put on my dance outfit and dance, and exactly when I didn't want to do it.
But so something propelled you to continue.
But it kind of came easily for me. If I think if it was something that I had to work really hard, I may not have done it. Like music, my sisters learned music and they were very good at music, and whenever I opened my mouth, everyone would say, so the dance was a little easier, and therefore I was able to, pick it up and, continue with it. And I think my interest really came about stronger when at the age of 13 or 14, there was a visiting guru who came from a different town. And he came and, we had a big, huge gathering. Usually this dance is a solo dance form. So the guru, the teacher is teaching only you, and you're not dancing with anybody else. So
it's not like ballet.
It's not like a ballet. So you're learning with the guru, and there's no other interaction except, the annual recital. Maybe you're dancing and then you meet other people or whatever. But in the setting when the teacher came from out of town, he held a workshop, and I went and learned one of the styles, and there was all these dancers from all over, young girls like me from all over, and that really created an interest in me, because in that setting the teacher is looking at you and saying, "Oh, you're really good," or whatever, and so that little praise that you get, the little encouragement that you get, makes you think, "Oh, maybe I should pursue it a little more." So, and it was also a very fun social activity at that time. So I think I really got interested at that age. Until then, I was just, dancing and doing whatever I wanted without much interest.
So we have a clip of you dancing. So let's take a look at that so that we get an idea of how easy or difficult it is to do a Bharatanatyam dance. It seems a little difficult to watch. So Bobby is going to roll the clip now. So that was a clip of your performance, a solo performance.
Yes.
What was that about?
This was about Lord Shiva when he was dancing. He was dancing with an assembly of gods in front of him, and many of the gods and goddesses around him in the hymns that describe his dance, they were all his orchestra. Basically, they would either play the drum for him, or they'd play the cymbals for him, or they'd play the musical instrument, or they'd play the pitch tambura, which is another musical instrument. And then they would all be singing his praises and bowing. All the gods would bow in front of him. So that was a hymn that described his dance and the surroundings of the dance. But that dance that I did was, when I did it last year, I did it after I was celebrating last year as for, my over 50 years of having been in this profession, that was a special celebration, and that's why I went ahead and danced that year. But I've been toning it down a little bit since then because my next generation is up, and they're all strong dancers, and they're all very much interested in performing and doing the choreography and moving, creatively to, trying to do different things more than I would have done when I was, by myself. So I'm kind of passing the baton.
Okay,
yes.
the baton. So we have another clip of,
Yes.
I think they both are your daughters, I think. So we have another clip, and this is you're passing on to the younger generation, yes, to carry on the torch that you ignited here in Silicon Valley. So we'll see the second dance clip now. So the taller dancer is your daughter, Rasika.
Yes, and the taller one is my second daughter, Malavika Kumar.
Okay.
Rasika is even taller than that.
Okay.
She's not in this clip. The younger one is Anjana Dasu, and
this is an invocation.
It's an invocation piece that I created many years ago, where I was talking about how when mankind first they see the sun, and they, the sun is like the first thing that they see when they. And so they start worshipping it. So then they see the plants around them, and so then they start worshipping the plants as gods. So the sun is a god, the plants are gods. Then after that, slowly then they realize that, there is an infinite being that has, so in the Hindu philosophy, we talk about the infinite being present, omnipresent all over, but who is neither male nor female. You call it an it. It doesn't have a form, it doesn't have a shape, it doesn't have a house or a dwelling, it doesn't have any weapons. It is the infinite spirit. And so that piece kind of progressed to show that the infinite spirit is there, but then man has to view him in a special form that is identifiable to himself. And therefore he makes all these identifiable shapes of gods and goddesses to whom then you can worship. It's called an Ishta Devata, a desired deity. So you start worshipping the desired deity in order to reach this infinite spirit that you cannot see. So that was the intent of that piece, that went back to the basic Hindu belief of the infinite spirit and its manifestations.
Okay. So
is that too much?
No, it was not too much. It is actually, it's very deeply philosophical and, yes, spiritual, and which I think when we go for a recital, we don't understand the context or the background. So when you explain, now it makes sense why you have that invocation. And what is the first movement that you teach your students? The
first movement, whenever we start, because we keep the deity in front of us in the space itself, excuse me, we make that a sacred space for ourselves. And so we start out by doing a bow, where we offer our whole body in salutations to Mother Earth. We touch Mother Earth to our eyes as a way of asking forgiveness. And then
forgiveness for what?
Forgiveness because we're going to start stamping upon her, making big, loud, percussions with our feet. Our feet is our percussion instrument here. So we bow to Mother Earth and ask for her forgiveness and respect her. Then we bow to all the gods or the heavens, whichever god you worship in the heavens. And then a very, very special bow for the guru or the teacher. The teacher is one who drives away this darkness of ignorance in your mind and gives you knowledge and light. And then we give a special bow to all the people in front of you. And then we start so the whole bow is done in the beginning and end of every dance session. It's called a namaskaram, literally meaning a bow.
What does dancing mean to you?
Dancing is, it has become, like I get up in the morning, I think of dancing, but it's not, it's been a path that I've took. I mean, I had several paths to choose from, and then I could have done either nutrition and become a PhD in nutrition, but then I started teaching dance, and it's been a very fulfilling, career for me. It's when I started it, it was only to teach others because I was not able to dance enough myself. But the best moments for me are when I dance myself, when I'm myself on stage, and I'm
expressing yourself,
expressing whatever I feel like, whatever I need to express because of the lyrics or whatever the theme we have chosen. And when I know that the person in front of me has actually imbibed that sometimes I do something and somebody comes and says, oh, I had tears in my eyes when I saw you. So those kind of moments are really nice, and that's what makes it very fulfilling. So dance is very fulfilling when you do that for yourself. And then when you teach, when I started teaching first, and when the girls are doing well, and then they come across and they get all these awards and prizes and all that, then you start feeling really proud that you've imparted something that somebody else has been able to take it, and where I have stopped at some level, and these dancers are taking it to an even better level, a greater level,
and they're innovating on it,
and they're innovating and creating, and so that makes you really proud of their achievements as well. So it's fulfilling for yourself, and then it feels good that you have imparted it so that they can progress to a different level as well. So in many ways, it's that's why
it's a connect for you. It's a connect with yourself and with the audience,
yes,
and the students that you teach.
Yes.
We've had this sitting here. These are called, I only know the Hindi word, ghungru, anklets.
And ghungru, this bell is known as nupur or gunguru or chalangai in Tamil. So this is known as chalangai. This is just, the gungurus are being put together in different ways. This is being put on a leather padding like this. It can be put on a cloth padding as well. Sometimes it's just strung together.
Yes, I've seen those.
It's just strung together in ropes, and then they just tie it around. The reason we wear this is, it's said that the gods, including Lord Shiva and all the gods who dance in the Hindu pantheon, they all wear bells and dance.
Why?
So they wear bells and dance because whatever rhythm is being done on the feet, it's enhanced by the sound of the bells.
Oh, okay.
And the sound of the bells is like, it mimics the sound of the universe, the sounds in the universe. So it's a very tinkly sound.
So it's a very cosmic thing in some ways.
And so we wear bells on our feet in order to enhance the rhythmic percussion that we do with our feet. And it's like it's something that we respect. And so when we offer this in worship to the God, and we bow to it, we respect it. We offer it to the teacher who has to bless it before they give it to us, and then we wear it on our ankles.
So it's a very sacred kind of a thing.
It's an instrument for us.
Okay.
So just like this instrument or a musical instrument like the veena or the drum is also considered, they're all objects of the goddess of wisdom, Goddess Saraswati.
They're not accessories. They're
actual instruments. And so we worship. We'll be putting kumkum, that red powder will be put on this gunguru as well as on this and everything, and then we start dancing with it to enhance the rhythm.
We have a couple more minutes, and before I wind up, I want to know, I asked you to get these symbols.
Yes, symbols, yeah.
So what do you do, symbols? What do you do, what is the purpose of this?
The teacher is the one who wields these symbols. Usually in the Western orchestra, the big cymbals make dramatic sounds. Here, these little cymbals mimic the sounds of the feet. So any feet movements like da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da would be da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
So how many different variations do you have? What is the basic one that you start off a new student with?
We usually start out with the basic stamping of the feet, right, left, and right, in 3 different speeds. So this way, the thing that we would say is tay ya tay, tay ya tay. Next speed, tay ya tay, tay ya tay, tay ya tay, tay ya tay, tay 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 tay.
So that's the first thing that a student learns, to dance to that.
That
rhythm.
To the rhythm, yes. The cymbals are used only in a performance setting or in a rehearsal setting. When we start teaching them in class, we just use a basic plank and a stick, just somewhat like just a regular plank.
Like a cheese board and a wand.
And just a little, it's a dowel. It's like a dowel, but it's a very thick dowel.
Okay.
And so, it won't break. Otherwise, you start hitting it with the dowel, you probably break it. But it's a very thick kind of dowel, and we use that to make the rhythm rather than this. Because this, as you know, it'll make a sound that will wake up everybody in the neighborhood.
Yes.
So we use that to make the rhythms. And then when we go on stage and in rehearsals, the guru or the teacher will be wielding this and conducting the orchestra with these cymbals and what she or he says.
So we never got to this. This was celebrating 25 years.
This is celebrating 30 years.
30 years. Yeah. So we are almost out of time now. Natya?
Samarpan.
Samarpan.
And means a dance offering, a complete offering.
Offering.
Samarpan means all offering. Offering. Means like not just... Arpana means offering. Samarpan means offering everything. So
that's what you've done.
30 years we have offered.
But for 35 years, you've offered your dancing skills and everything to students, not only at Abhinaya Dance Company, but also at Stanford, Santa Clara, San Jose University, and now you're teaching at Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
So
Santa Cruz,
I wish we had more time, Mythili. The 30 minutes just flew by.
Yes.
So we would like you to come back again. You're celebrating your 35 years, and 2016 is going to be a very important year for you, I'm sure, where you'll have a lot of new shows coming up. And I guess your website is abhinaya.org.
Yes.
That's it. So thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
And thank you for watching. You can send us questions, suggestions, and feedback to us. info@kamlashow.com. You can follow me on Twitter. We'll be back with another edition next week. Until then, thank you for watching and goodbye.